open a new document, and we're going to have, we'll click print preset right here. That's going to make it a CMYK document. And first thing we need to do is make it 11 inches by 11 inches wide. And so if I go 11 by 11, I tell it to one artboard. The orientation is not going to matter because it's neither vertical or horizontal. It's the same measurement. Okay, if I were to hit create now, I'm going to be really unhappy because look, it's 11 PT. What does PT mean? It means points. And how big would 11 points be in inches? I'll click here where it says points and I'll tell this to be inches. And it's 0.12528. So 0.125 is an eighth of an inch. So it's just barely bigger than an eighth of an inch. So, ooh. So first thing you need to do is click inches and then tell it to be 11 inch by 11 inch. That's going to be huge. Okay, and then you'll have a document that'll have an artboard. And then we're going to want to put a grid in it like we're seeing right here. So here's my 11 by 11 grid. If I, our artboard, if I get the artboard tool, it's right here. And I'm in Essentials Classic blending mode. If I'm in Essentials Workspace, it's going to look a little different. And you'll have to find it down here. If you don't see the artboard tool, it should, it's right here. But I'm going to go back to Essentials Classic because it's got more stuff I like. All right, so I'm gonna get the artboard tool, and you see it selecting this artboard. There's artboard panel right here, and it says there's only one artboard. If I go to the properties panel, it will tell you the width and height of that artboard is 11 inches by 11 inches. This X and Y, you don't really need to worry about that, but it's saying it's 17 inches from the 0 point here in the ruler and 5.5 inches to the center of this from the 0 point. But this is the one we're concerned with, 11 by 11. So that's good. Now we need to do a grid in that. And so they're not a quick key, and we need to find the box grid. If we click on the line segment tool, the rectangular grid tool, and we already know this tool from our robot from last week, but if I just click and drag, it's gonna give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like I was demoing the robot's head last week, and I thought this would make good teeth. So that's not the grid I need. And whatever way I drag it, it's going to draw. So I have a very specific grid I need to do. So what I'm going to do, I could double click on this and I could do settings. That's going to open up the rectangular grid tool and options. But what I'll do is I'll click and I could click right on the center here and it says center. Smart guides will tell me I'm in the center. That's good, but I'm going to actually intentionally click off. I'm going to hold the Alt key if I'm on a PC or the Option key if I'm on a Mac, and then I'm going to click. And so what that's going to do, it's going to make a little bit of a difference. And so what's my default size for this? I'm making a 10-inch by 10-inch grid. And it's going to be inches now because I set inches and then at the beginning. And then I need 9 horizontal dividers and 9 vertical dividers. Do not change the skew on either one of these. That will make it to where they're not equidistant. Some shapes would be bigger, some shapes would be smaller. So just keep that at 0. So 10, 10, 9, 9, 0%. And then we'll use the outside grid as a frame. We do not want to fill the grid. We'll leave that blank. And I'll click OK. And there's my grid. And I intentionally made that grid not perfectly fit on the page, on the artboard. And so now it's selected. I can go to the properties panel, look right here. There's align tools in Adobe Classic workspace mode. There's also, it repeats those shapes here, the alignment tools. And so I'm going to come to align, and it's telling you what it's aligning to. It's going to align to the artboard here. And I'll click this one here. Well, I'll hit this one here first. That's going to align to the left, and see what it did? It aligned the left side of this to the left side of that artboard. Okay, that's not what I want. And I also don't want it aligned to the right like that. I want it aligned to this one. Ah, that's just right. So now I have a 1/2 inch border on either side, and I want this one here aligned vertically. There, I've got a nice grid. And I'm going to name that layer grid, and I'll probably just lock that layer for now. So I'm not going to do anything more with that until I'm ready to move on to the next phase. Then I'm going to make a layer called shapes, and I'm going to have triangles, quarter circles, and squares. So I'm going to hit the letter M. That's the rectangle tool. And there's a rectangle tool, and I'll just Option or Alt click, and it's going to open the rectangle control panel, and I'll say 1 inch by 1 inch, and I'll hit OK. And I don't want to fill with no stroke. I want just the opposite. So I'm going to switch these two. I'll say black stroke, no fill. And so that's going to be a shape I'm going to need. And then I'm going to duplicate that. I could copy and paste like that, but I'm not going to do that. In the world of Adobe, if I have this selected, I have the selection tool letter V. I just hit V. I didn't come over here and click that. If I were to, so that's going to be my square. If I were to hold the Alt key on a PC or the Option key on a Mac and then drag, it's going to duplicate that. And if you look at my mouse in this video, you'll see the cursor has a double-headed arrow. And if I want this to be aligned, I'll also hit Shift. So I'm holding the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, plus the Shift key on both. And then I'm going to let go of the mouse first, and then I'll let go of those keys. If I don't do it in that order, if I'm duplicating and then I let go of Option and Shift, all I did was move my shape. So Option or Alt is going to duplicate it. Shift's going to make it stay in alignment. So there we go. I'm going to duplicate that again. I'm going to hold Shift and select both of them. I'm going to hold Option or Alt and duplicate again. There. Now I've got 4 triangles, right? No, I don't. I got 4 quarter circles. Nope. I've got 4 squares. Yes. Okay. And then I'm going to duplicate all 4 of those. What I did there is I just clicked and dragged a marquee on the pasteboard. You can see they're all 4 is selected here. I'll again hold Option or Alt. I'll drag down. And now I'm going to turn all of these into the shapes I want. So first one I'm going to do, I'll select these 4, and I'm going to turn them into triangles. And I'm going to do that with the delete selection, delete anchor point tool. The minus key or the hyphen key on your keyboard will bring that tool up. It looks like a pen tool here with a minus on the lower right corner. And so I'm just going to come, I don't even have to be selected. I'm going to come over and click this outer edge and then the bottom edge. And there, I've got 4 perfect triangles. And that works great. And then this one, I'm going to click, I'm going to make 4 quarter circles. And so I'll zoom up a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. These are called live corner widgets. And if I pull on a live corner widget, you see it rounds the corners. We did that on a robot last week, some of you. If I pull it all the way in, it makes a circle, but I can't do that circle because that's subdividing this shape. So I can't do that. I only want to color one of these corners. I don't want to round all 4 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get right here, letter A, the direct selection tool, and I will select. That allows me to select just one anchor point. See that? That's the only one selected. And when that one's selected, you can see it's solid and the other 3 anchor points are hollow. But I also have only one live corner widget. If I pull it a little bit, I've got just one corner rounded. I want to pull it all the way down to this bottom corner here. And that's giving me a perfect quarter circle. I'll just do the same thing 3 more times. There we go. And so now I've got all my shapes and I should save now. And you should have had a phase one design you're working from. And you can place it in here if you want. You don't have to. You could just look at it on a sheet of paper on your desk. I'm going to place it. I'm going to go to File, Place. It's right down here somewhere. File, Place. I just used a quick key, Shift Command P. So Shift Command P, File, Place. And I've got my sketch here. And I'll click and drag that. So there's my guy that I'm going to create. And that's my sketch. And so what I would do using only these shapes, I'll say, okay, I'm going to start with this hair. And I know that's a triangle. And which triangle is it? Oh, it's this one. So I'll get the regular selection tool. I'll select this anchor point, and you can see that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it's just 1, 2, and down 1 for this one. And they're all that same one. So if I go down over 1, 2, and down 1, 2, there we go. But look what happened. I've lost that shape. So we're going to use that same technique with Option on a PC or Alt on a Mac. And I'm going to put that there. And I'm going to intentionally miss here. And so I need it to be mirror perfect. And we're going to use the property panel to fix that. I'm going to zoom up here. And there's two things you can use. I'll fix the first one with the smart guide. So if you're not seeing smart guides are going to see this little pink line that says reflect and those measurements that are showing up, or this pink line that appears here. And that's saying intersect. And that's saying that's mirror perfection. And it's perfectly aligned. And how do I know it is? Well, I can come over here and I can look at the placement here. It's got a 0.5 here and a 9. And that's going to matter based on where the reference point is. In this case, the reference point is set at the top middle. That's not really where I would probably want it. I'll set the reference point in the middle here. And then you can see this one, it's saying it's 9. And so that means it's 9 from the left side and 2 from the top of that shape. If I did it from the upper left, you can see I have 8.5. So upper left is going to be the upper left corner of the document. It's 8.5. The 0.5 is that half-inch border, and 1.5. There's the one down from this highest point, and the 0.5 is the measurement. Okay, so that's how I got that shape. This time I'm going to be off a little bit, and this time I'm going to be off a little bit, and this time I'm going to be off a little bit. And I think that's how many. Maybe there's one more. No, I think that's all there is. Let's see. I'll do one more. And in each of those, I'm not very accurate. And so what I need to do now, zoom back in. I could click and smart guides will help me, and it should tell me when it's snapped into place. But let's say I didn't do that. I can come over here and you can see this is 7.5344. Well, that's close to 7.5. If I just type 7.5, or I just deleted those numbers, I'll hit return. You can see the Y, the up and down measurement is still going to be off. But watch what happens when I hit return here. See that snapped right to the X axis where that should be, the horizontal axis. And on this one here, I could just it's 5.12 something something. I'll hit delete and just leave it at 1.5 and hit return. And there, just by using the XY placement here, making sure two things. The shape is right. Here's going to be a problem. I was moving this shape and I grabbed this and I accidentally scaled it, and I tried to bring it back, let's say, and I ended up off. And so I try to place it and it's like, okay, that seems like it's on, but look, it's missing here. That's a problem. Or, you know, Sometimes students even rotate them, and that makes it even harder. I'll get to the rotate one next. But each of these shapes have to be 1 inch by 1 inch. So if you're not having mirror perfection, you're hitting Command Y and things aren't aligning. First thing to do is check that your X and Y shape is 1 inch by 1 inch. And then you can go to this, and this says 6.5, and then there's some change. I'm just going to get rid of the change, so it's just 6.5, and this says 1.5 plus some change. I'll be 1.5. I'll hit return. Boom, mirror perfection. So the properties panel and the smart guides, they're going to help you. Smart guides, then you can just check your perfection there. Or I'm going to be off a little bit on this one. And so the X is good, 4.5, but I'm off a little bit there. I was on purpose. And when I hit Command Y or View Outline, it looks pretty good, but it looks like a little thick line here. And if I ever see a thick line in outline mode, I know it's not a thick line. It's a two lines. And look what I have going on here. It's not, I've got my grid and I've got my line here. So I need that to change, and see right here I got 1.5179. I'll just delete that 75, and it's 4.5 x y 1.5. Hit return, mirror perfection. Okay, and so I got my guy's hair. I'll go back to Command Y, and yeah, I got the hair started. And then maybe I would want to do the nose, and let's see, I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so I'll say, okay, that's this guy here. I'm holding Option, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Clear down here. I think I missed. I think it's, yeah, I think it's right here. And it says intersect smart guides, and that tells me that it's dead on. And so I'd have to get for the next nose. And right now I'm not worrying at all about the color. And I'll get that done. I'm a little off there. See that? 2.5, but I'm off a little bit here. So I'll delete the excess and hit return. Boom. And then these are going to be squares here. So I'll just do this. And if I want, I can, since this shape here actually takes up 4 and it's just a square, I can, rather than having 4 separate squares, I could have one big square. It's just going to be 2 by 2. Okay, and so I'm starting to get those there, but then I say, yeah, but I think I don't want to have, it's going to be difficult here in a second to see what's going on, because everything's solid black. If you go to your swatch panel, it's right here, or you can go to Window Swatches here. So here's Window Swatches. I'm opening the swatch panel, and in the swatches panel, that's brushes. I've got grayscale swatches right here, grays. And I can click on any one of these grays, and this is how I would color at this phase. And so say, what color do I want the skin to be? And I'll say I want the skin to be that color. And then I could say, all right, and then I'm going to go down from that hair to, from the top's a quarter circle. And I could say, hey, it's this same quarter circle as this one. I'll hold Option and bring that down. And it looks like I'm off. It looks like it needs to be right here. And oops, I missed. So what do? I can see 4.5, that's good. 8.5 and change. I'll get rid of the change, hit return, boom, mirror perfection. Okay, so I have that chin, and then on the backside of this, there's going to be another shape going the other way, and I don't have any of those used. So that's 1, 2, 3 in between. I'll grab this guy, 3 in between, and there we go. There's that one. It's mirror perfection, because the smart guides, Adobe has something called snap to point. And so it was mentioned in our discussion group last week. And oh, and by the way, a fantastic discussion group participation last week. Okay, so I've got that, and I can come back over here and click it, or I could hit letter I for the eyedropper tool, and I could just come over here and click. Okay, so there's the shape here. I could also at this point just hit M and say, all right, I need to just draw a solid in here. And I'll draw a solid shape in here. And I'm going to be off just a little bit, just so I can show you how to fix it. And then I could draw these shapes here. And maybe I want to have, a lip or something like that on him. And then I would need the shape here can actually get wider. So I want to so I'm grabbing the bounding box here, pulling up. Okay. And then I could fix where it's off. It's off both in this shape here. You can see I've got fractions here. It's only going to want to be 3 wide. Oh, 3.9, that's close to 4. It's going to want to be 4 wide by 4 tall. I'll hit return. So that's the right shape. And then get rid of the change here, 5.5 by round that up to 4.5. Hit return, boom, mirror perfection. Then I could draw I'll get the rectangle tool again, and I could draw this shape in. Looks like mirror perfection. All right, only thing I'm missing is his chin. So I'll grab these shapes and say, okay, there's his chin, but I don't want this extra shape here. So I think what I'll do, I keep hitting my hot corners. I need to turn those off. I'll just grab this square here, say that's going to go here, and down to here. Whoops. Zoom up. Grab the bounding box down to here, and then eyedrop. Okay, so that's how we draw. And then when I hit Command Y, I'm looking for thick lines, double lines. And if it looks thick, I'll zoom in and go, is that mirror perfection? It turns out that is. If yours is not, then we'll have problems. Okay, so once this one's done, we're going to duplicate that artboard. And so how we're going to do that is I'll jump ahead, and here's my man all done in grayscale here. I want to duplicate my grid as well. So I'm going to unlock my grid layer. There's my grid, and I've got my man gray here. And maybe I want some ground too. So I'm going to do some background, and here's some background. Okay, so I made a layer called background, and you can see that's just one big grass rectangle, one big sky rectangle, and then I made clouds and trees and water. Okay, so now with those layers unlocked that I need, I can duplicate my artboard. And so I'm going to duplicate my artboard, and the instructions are both on my videos and they are on my instructions. I'm going to get the artboard tool, and it's right here. And you can see it makes a bounding box for the artboard tool. And just like I copied the shapes, I'm going to hold the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and drag it. I'm going to hold Shift so I don't move up and down like that. And I'll move that over, and there. I've got a duplicate of this guy. And then I can say, all right, now it's time to color this one. And I could just click this grass and I could get close my swatches. So I'll go to my swatches and I'll go view or window rather, swatches. And I'll say I want that to be green and I'll select um, the skin color here and I'll say I want that to be, and I don't really see a skin color I want. I'll say to be this color here for now. Or I could double click the color and say, well, I wanted a little more orangish and maybe a little more pink. I'll pull it down here a little bit. Okay, and then maybe that's the skin color I want. And I could say, okay, for these ones, I could select all of these guys. I'm holding shift to select them all. And I'm holding shift to select these ones. Then I'll get the eyedropper, letter I, I'll click. And so it's colored. And I'll just go through that whole guy and color him just like that. And when I'm done, it's going to look something like this with a background. Okay. And so now I've got a layer called Color Man, and I've got a color background, and I've got my guy here. And so now I've got these shapes here. I duplicated them for some reason. Don't really need those. I can move them out of the way or just delete them because I already have them over here, and I don't know that I'll really need them anymore. So here's my phase 2, here's my phase 3. I'm ready to turn it in for phase 2, phase 3. But for phase 4, I'm going to again get the artboard tool and I'm going to hold Alt and drag. Ooh, but I'm going to have a problem here. So I'll copy that over. And then it says hidden or locked artboards will not be moved. And it's like, oh, that's okay. And then I go, oh, it wasn't okay. Look, where'd my grid go? I better delete that. So I'm going to undo that. Undo, undo. I need to unlock grid as well. Okay, because I had duplicated the grid. Now I can duplicate. Hold Alt or Option, drag over. And then this guy here, I can start doing patterns. I can start stacking layers. I can start doing gradients. And so I'm just gonna give his mustache a pattern here. And so I'll go to the swatch panel and I'll go to open swatch library and I'll go to patterns right here and I'll go basic graphics lines. And so I'm going to do like this pattern right here. And there we go. Only problem is what happened. The mustache turned invisible. Okay. So what I need to do, I need to copy, Command C. I'm going to paste in front. And so that's edit, paste in front, or paste in place. Either one will work, but Command F or Control F on a PC, paste in front. So it looks like nothing happened, but in reality, I've got two mustaches stacked. Now on this top one, I can hit something that I think will be a good mustache texture. And then I can go to this panel here called Transparency and say, I think I want to have it a different blending mode. I could go to overlay and look, now it's this lighter texture, or I could go to say multiply, and multiply looks just like normal. Seems like it does nothing, but that's not true. What multiply does is it takes this color and it adds it to what's underneath it, but this is already black. So it's just going to stay black. But now I can come to my opacity here and slide it down. And so what I'm getting now is I've got, a brown stroke here. Whereas if the blending mode was normal, it would be gray and really milky. So I changed the blending mode to multiply and I get some nice effects. So, and then I would do gradients. I'll just do one gradient here. So usually when I start with gradient, I have already, last time I demoed this, I have a gradient, maybe that was from something else, a gradient there. But I'm going to go to my gradient panel. It's going to be right over here. And I'll say I usually start just with this white and black linear gradient. It's also in your swatch panel right here. So I'll click that and say, okay, there's a radial gradient. But again, oops, first thing I need to do is copy, paste in front because I don't want to get rid of that brown. I need that brown. Now I can come and say, okay, um, I want a gradient on this. I'll just click this one here. And then I'll get G is my gradient tool. And you can see here's what my gradient is doing. And I'm going to move these swatches. It is white to black. And so if I pull this white over, look, it didn't do this one. And that's going to be okay. I'm not worrying about it right now. Um, but it might be better in this instance rather than to um, have the gradients not moving well. I'll just delete those two. Delete, delete. And instead of having separate shapes here, at this point, I could say, okay, I'm just going to make this one here. Look, it's not quite 2 inches. So near perfection there. And this is off a little bit. That should be 1.5, 1.5. Okay, so that's near perfection. And it's only one shape. Now I can copy and paste that one in front. And when I do this and I hit G for gradient, there's only one gradient annotator. And let's say I want the sun coming from the left a little bit. And if I click here, it's just going to add new anchor points anywhere I click them. But it doesn't really change the gradient initially. I've got to double click on that and then tell it to be a color. So that's, black on both sides. And let's say I want more dark here. I could move this slider over, and I could also move my middle point over if I want. So I'm saying that's what I want for my shading, but it makes it look like chrome now. So that's where opacity and blending modes are going to come in. So I'll just select it with the selection tool and I'll lower the opacity. So it's just a different gray. It looks kind of ugly and milky. So instead, I'm going to say, what are some of these blending modes going to do? What's a multiply going to do? It makes the edges darker. I don't really get the highlight. And so I could go through these and see what does hard light do? What does soft light do? And that was not too bad. And I could play with those things. Color burn, what's that going to do? And luminosity, what's that going to do? So play around with those, and overlay is gonna, pretty happy with that one. Okay, so that's fun. Now I could copy this and paste it in front, and I could get some, like bark texture. Maybe that's a good bark texture there. And so now I've got gradients, I've got patterns. I can scale that pattern if I want. I'll hit the scale tool, letter S, and I'll double click on that and see right here, it says transform object, and it's going to an 80% here. And you can see the object changed. I don't want to transform the object. I only want to transform the pattern. And instead of making it 80%, that's not enough. I'll say, well, what if I go 50%? And I'll have to uncheck and recheck preview, and that's fine. Or what if I wanted it to be 200%? And again, I got to uncheck and recheck. Okay, I'm happy with that. And then I can click OK. All right, so we're going to do blending modes. That's blending modes. I'd have an overlay, again, overlay and multiply. They're going to be your best friends on this one. But you can try other ones. You may get some, depending on what you're doing, that will work really well. So we're going to do lots of patterns. We're going to do lots of blending modes. And then last thing I'm going to do, I'll demo the eye. So I'm going to select this eye, and I'm going to tell that eye to be black. Okay. And I'm going to copy that, Command C and Command F. So now I have two eyes, and I never move them around other than to show you I've done that. Now I want to do a radial gradient. And again, I usually just start with this gray linear gradient, and then I can go to the gradient panel. Here's the gradient panel. I'll move it over here so you can see what we have going on. And I want it to be a radial gradient. So I'm going to tell this to be radial. And it's kind of the opposite of what I want, it seems like, because it's dark on the corners, but it's going to be okay. I'll hit G for the gradient tool. So this is the gradient annotator. You can see the gradient annotator is here as well. I'm going to put the annotator down here in the corner. And watch what happens as I move this up. Okay, that is giving me some more white, but I want to choke that. I could pull this white all the way up until I get to there, and it's like, look, I've got like a eyelash kind of thing. But I don't want to do that. I'm going to leave the white here for now, and I'm going to hold the Option key or Alt on PC and drag, and look what it's doing now. It's giving me a extra white gradient point, and now I don't have to keep holding Option. So I'll pull that all the way to the outer edge, and I'm going to pull this one to the outer, to about the middle here. And if I click, and whether if I click, I'll click down here, or I could click here on this annotator, it doesn't matter. I'll click down here, it made another color spot. So I've got a black, I've got a white, and another white. If I double click on this, I can choose from any of these colors, and I'll tell them to have white eyes, or blue eyes. And so that's pretty good, but it's very fuzzy. Eyes don't really look like that. So maybe I'll move that up more so it's not so fuzzy. I'll park it right next to this eye, and maybe I want them bigger. I'll move this one up. I'll move this one over right next to that one. And I've got blue, but I want a pupil too. And so I've got to make another color stop. Last time I clicked down here, this time I'll just click right here and right on the annotator's not doing anything. I'll just click down here. There we go. And I'm going to tell this one, I'll double click, I'll tell that to be the pupil. Okay. And then again, it's soft and fuzzy, and that's not optimal for a pupil. So what I would do here is I would pull that up, and you see it's kind of milky gray here, because it's transitioning from 100% K to black, but pupils aren't milky like that. So I can also see if I move this one here right up next to it, I've got a hard line here, but ooh, look, I lost my blue there. So what I would do here is I would grab this color stop, I'll hold Option or Alt and duplicate that. And look, I've got a hard edge. I've got a blue here. It's nested up right on top, or right abutting to that pupil. And then I've got the same thing happening on the white. And that's working pretty good. But he's kind of cross-eyed. I can move that around. Look. Of course, if I move it around too crazy, I'm not sure I'll want to have this black color here. So that was kind of when I wanted to have it be like an eyebrow sort of thing, was what I was thinking at that point. So I can do that, and then I could I could do texture like the elephant hide one I did before. If I want to do a highlight in it, I could copy this shape and paste it in front. Now it's just a black eye right now, but I'll tell this to be a gradient, and I'll hit G for the gradient tool. And instead of black, I'll tell this to be white. So it's white and white, but I'll tell this one, I'll pinch these two close together. I'll tell it to be a radial gradient. And this outer one here, I'll tell it to have 0% opacity. Hit return. And so now as I move this gradient shape around, look what I have. I've got a little highlight in his eye. And if I want it bigger, I can do that. If I want it harder, I'll just choke this one right up next to that one. And there's a little bit of a highlight. And it's a little too massive. So I can shrink this down. And I could say, all right, I'm going to have one, that's like a small highlight like this. And maybe I want a bigger one that's a softer one. Um, so I'll copy that. I'll paste it in front. And this time I'll move this one. I will tell that one to be bigger. And I'll go to my transparency, opacity, and tell it to be much less. And so there, I kind of got a double highlight going on there. And I could do texture again, like that elephant hide makes a good eye texture. And so that looks like I really cheated a lot, made all these small shapes, but no, view, outline, Command Y. That's all just squares. Ooh, it looks like I do have some craftsmanship problem here. Look at that. And here's the problem. So I think all those are going to be off. So I'm going to select those and look here, 55089. I only want that to be 5.5. I'll hit return and boom, mirror perfection, 4.5, 5.511. And so the only thing I have there is a square and quarter circle. I'm off here as well. I would fix that. So anyway, that's how we do it. And then we're going to add custom gradients. We're going to add patterns. We're going to add highlights. So I've shown you a couple of pattern things here. And then I just add a lot more gradients, a lot more patterns, and call it a day. And I have more in-depth videos showing all of that. And so that's what our final artboard will look like. We'll have a grayscale artboard. We'll have a solid flat color artboard, no gradients, no shading. And then I'll have a one with dimensional shading, with patterns, with gradients. I'll do just one more. I'm going to select all this water and missed a piece. So let's see, I've got all that water selected, and I'm going to tell that to fill with a pattern. But before I do that, I'm going to go to a new tool. Not new, but it might be new to you. The Shape Builder tool, Shift plus M is the quick key. It's right over here. And with that tool, I can click and drag through all of these shapes here, and it's going to make them one shape. And that's just going to be easier. You can see now it's not got all those grid shapes. But I would only do that before, ooh, and look, I might be a problem here. That's not exactly the right number. So I'm going to make that 0.5 and get rid of the fraction. Okay. And now I'll get the Shape Builder tool. I want to lock my grid before I do that. So I'll select all of these colors. So those are all selected. Double check. And yeah, I'm a little bit off of mirror perfection here. So I'll get that on, and then I'll copy, paste in front, and I'll fill that one again with that zebra pattern. So I'm going to go to swatches, open swatch library, patterns, basic graphics, decorative nature. I'll do animal skins, and I'm going to do this. And you see, I've got the blue, I've got the white. And what I wanted to show you now is scaling. And so again, I'll hit S for the scale tool. I'll double click it, and I need to uncheck right here, transform objects. And I'll say I want this to be 300%, 275. Okay, what does that look like? Looks like that. That's fine. And wouldn't it be, I'm not real happy how those pieces are. Wouldn't it be nice if I could move them around in the shape here without um, or maybe I want to rotate them. I could get the rotate tool. And if I try to click that and rotate, look, it's going to rotate the whole shape. But let's say I want to rotate just the pattern itself, but not the shape, kind of like what I'm doing right here. And so how would I do that? Well, I'm doing that with the tilde key. I'm holding the tilde key. It's on the upper left of your artboard or your keyboard. And that's using the rotate tool, or I do the same thing with the scale tool. I'm holding the shift key and dragging. Whoops, I need to um, I've got a setting that I need to click um, that will fix that. But I'm gonna hit OK. For now, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go again to my blending modes, and I'll tell this to be multiply, or I'll tell it to be screen, and multiplies the way I want it to go, and I'll tell that to be like a 20% ish. And there I've got some water. So that's what we're going to do with patterns. And I demo that one a little bit more on a separate video. Okay, so when we're all done, we'll have one artboard grayscale, one artboard flat color, one artboard with a lot more than I've done here with color and patterns, gradients and dimensionality. If we're doing more than one design, we would have another grayscale one down here, flat color and pattern. Okay.